Hey there, my name is Lexi, and thank you so much for joining me for another studio session. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to make drops within a song. Now, drops, this is a common trick that a lot of artists are going to ask you, the engineer, to do during a session. And a drop is just basically where the music will literally drop out, or it'll be silent during that little amount of time, or the beat might even switch up, and that's what a drop is basically. So the music stops or the music switches up. So a lot of artists, especially rappers, like to put drops within their music to emphasize certain phrases or just to make the music a little bit more interesting. So it's a really cool trick to know for your clients when they ask about it. So I'm going to be showing you how to do those. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to pull up a session that I already had pre-prepared. This is from a song of mine called Where Does the Time Go, which you can download and listen to on SoundCloud. I'll put links below in the description. But let's listen to a little bit of this so we can get an idea of what we're working with. And I'll turn this down a bit so we're not crushing your speakers or your headphones.
Work a 9 to 5, someone else's goal. Home from 5 to 9, but wasted while you're home. Spending the day to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know. Barely controlling the time of your own. Get what I'm saying while you still playing. We run around and waste the time like we don't have it. Some people watch it up and down, but they don't grab it. You wanna read and jot down. You wanna be fit, work out. You say what you wanna do. Get up and go make some moves. First thing when you get home, you find your bed, sleep around. Get up and you wonder, wow, where does the time go? Where does the time go? Or else you watch game all day. It is all one in the same. Turn off the game time and say, where does the time go? Where does the time go? Where does the time go? Where does the time go?
All right, so that is what we're working with. So some things that you should know when you're wanting to create drops within a song. First off, it is my recommendation that you work within grid mode. Grid mode is what I think works best with a song that is musically structured very well. So find out the tempo of your song, make sure you input that in the tempo bar, and then make sure that your beat is actually aligned properly with the grid so that it just makes it a lot easier to cut things. And the grid mode works best for you know how music is separated. You have music that's either done by half notes or quarter notes, eighth notes, and it makes editing so much easier. Trust me, you're gonna see why in a moment. If you already have those transients put on the grid, then that also will help you move a lot more quickly when you're making decisions for where to drop the music. Now, if you don't know what a transient is, it's basically a piece of waveform that shows a high amplitude. So maybe a hit, like a kick drum or a snare drum hit. And this is what it looks like. There's one here, 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 here. And I think you get the idea. These are all transients. So you can see that for the most part, these transients are already aligned with the grid the way that we need them to be. So it's basically something in the audio where a specific hit happened. That's what you're looking for when you're wanting to make drops within the songs. So another thing to keep in mind is you don't want to go overboard when you're creating these drops. So you don't want to put drops back to back and just do things that are, you know, just overwhelmingly a lot of drops in the song, because then it becomes very distracting and it actually can take away from the music. So you're going to have to use your judgment to determine where that fine line is of doing too much and then doing just enough to where it accents all the right parts of the song. So that's going to be something you're going to have to use your own discretion on, and or the discretion of the client. So if the client does want a lot of drops and it may be obnoxious to you, but the client wants it, then just go ahead and do it as long as the client is happy, right? But you definitely want to make sure you're being careful and not doing too much. So drops, they should make sense musically, not only from the perspective of the beat, the instrumental, the structure of the song, but it should also make sense musically within like the actual context of the song itself. So emphasizing certain words or phrases, you want to make sure that it just makes sense wherever you're placing these drops. Or even if you're, you know, building some kind of anticipation by dropping out a piece of the song during the end of a verse to signify to the audience that the hook is about to come in. Little things like that. That's, you know, what you want to keep in mind when you're creating these drops. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start on the verse since here we'll be working with here.
Working 9 to 5, someone else's goal. Home from 5 to 9, but wasted while you're home. Spending the day to get money for low.
So let me listen again.
Working 9 to 5, someone else's goal.
So let's take out the music on someone else's goal. Now, since we are in grid mode,
Someone else's goal.
that's basically where that phrase starts. So I'm going to make sure that my mouse is there. I'm going to press B to separate that portion of the audio from the rest. Let's listen to make sure that I have, the phrase that I want.
Home from 5 to
Yep. So it makes sense for me to cut it out here. Again, press B to separate that clip. Highlight it, Command M to mute. And now let's listen to what we got.
Working 9 to 5, someone else's goal. Home from 5 to 9, but wasted while you're home. Spending the day to get.
Yeah, so I think that sounds pretty good. And you'll come to find that when you do things on the grid and you go by transients, then you don't have annoying clicks at the end of your things. So, for example, if I was to do that,
Someone else's goal. Home from 5
it's
to
a very bad click, and we definitely don't want that within our music. So that's another reason why sticking to the grid and working off of transients to drop music is so important. Now, if you're not in grid mode, you can still cut off parts of the music using the transients. So let's just say that we're in slip mode and we wanted to do this same thing. So actually, let's put this back to how it was. Not that. Let's put it back to how it was. All right. So let's say that we were actually in slip mode and we wanted to do the same thing. Well, in this instance, it's might be a good idea for you to engage a feature called tab to transient, and that's going to be this button up here. You want to make sure that's highlighted, the arrow pointing to the transient. And what that does is basically each time you press the tab on your keyboard, the mouse or the cursor will automatically find those transients within the song. So now you don't have to be in grid mode to find those transients. All you have to do is press tab, and then you would press B, and then you would press B to separate that clip from the rest of the track. Go on to the part that you want. Boom. Highlight, Command M to mute, and now you have the same exact effect.
You working 9 to 5, someone else's goal. Home from 5 to 9, but wasted while you're home.
So yeah, let's create one more drop, and then I think that you probably have a good idea of what you should and should not do. So I think I want to drop it on money for low. That's what I want.
Home from 5 to 9, but wasted while you're home. Spending the day to get money for low.
And you can even audition where you think you might want drops by actually muting out the track and then bringing it back in. So I think I want it on money for low. So let's hear that again.
Wasted while you're home. Spending the days to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know. Barely controlling the time of your own. Get what I'm saying?
So yeah, you can use the mute on your track as well to kind of audition where you think you might want to place those drops. And just, from there you determine where those drops should be, how long they should be, and which phrases you're emphasizing and bringing out more. So money for low, and then from there we're just going to do like every other phrase. So
spending the days to get money for low. Money for low. Work for spending the days to get money for low.
So maybe check that out here.
Low. Work for somebody, nobody.
Let's see how that sounds, although I have a sneaking suspicion that I should cut it from this transient here.
Wasted while you're home. Spending the days to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know.
Actually, that works too. There is a little bit of a click at the end of that.
Money for low. Work for.
So I'm just going to smooth that out a little bit by placing very slight fade on the end of that.
Wasted while you're home. Spending the days to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody.
And it's still there. Ugh, I hate when that happens. So let me try this again. Let's get even more detailed.
Spending the days to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know.
Still there. Well, anyway, you get the idea. So I cut it right there. So it's actually emphasizing the word low. Let's see what happens when I bring that in even sooner.
Spending the days to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know.
And you know what I forgot? There's actually a very small transient here. I believe it's this. So let's see if our cursor can pick that up. and it doesn't. Well, in that situation, you could also switch back to slip mode and oops, sorry about that. You could actually switch back to slip mode and isolate the specific phrase that you want. So money for low.
Get money for low.
Let's bring that back in.
Get money for low.
Get money for low. Come up to the piece of the audio you want. B to separate. Command M to mute. Let's see how that sounds.
Spending the day to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know.
But see how that doesn't quite make sense? Well, that's because we weren't really working on the transients. So now let's see what happens if we take this transient out and bring it back in on this other transient.
Spending the day to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know.
And that's actually not too bad either. But I think I do actually like that emphasis on the word low. So I'm going to go back to how that was. And then we'll just go every other word from there. So you get to see a little bit of how it's done, even in further detail.
Wasted while you're home. Spending the day to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know.
So the word no. And this song is just really well structured, so it's just completely easy for me to make these decisions. Other songs are not quite so easy, and you specifically have to rely on transients to help you get through cutting. And then your ears, of course. If something doesn't sound right, then of course don't do it. But something does sound right and it does feel right, but it might not be necessarily, you know, aligning with any of the tips that I'm telling you here, then go ahead and go for it. It's really your discretion. It's what your client wants. Do what feels and sounds great to you. So let's hear what we have so far.
Spending the days to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know. Barely controlling the time of your own.
Own. Oops. So we're going to take that out too. And I'm just going to fade these little bits, even though they're still making noises that I don't like.
Money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know.
But did you hear that on the first one?
Money for low. Money for low.
Little stuff that I hear, and you'll hear it more often too as you keep doing little details like this in your music. But let's keep going.
Spending the days to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know. Barely controlling the time of your own. Get what I'm saying? Why you still playing? We run around and wait. Why you still playing? We run around and waste the time like we don't have it. Some people watch it up and down, but they don't grab it.
So you just see how completely easy it is for me to drop the music in these very specific places because my transients are already set to my grid, and it's just much easier to work that way. So let's hear what we have so far.
Work a 9 to 5, someone else's goal. Home from 5 to 9, but wasted while you're home. Spending the days to get money for low. Work for somebody, nobody you know. Barely controlling the time of your own. Get what I'm saying? Why you still playing? We run around and waste the time like we don't have it. Some people watch it up and down, but they don't grab it. You wanna read and you're down. You wanna be fit, work out. You say what you wanna do. Get up and go make some moves. First thing when you get home, you find your bed, sleep around.
Yeah, and that is how you create drops within music. So if you have any questions about that, make sure you comment below. Ask me any specific questions you have, or you can email me at info@LexCATL.com. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to see more content like this, give me a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I will keep this content coming to you. I was going so well until that part, right? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.
Get up and you wonder, wow, where does the time go? Where does the time go? Or else you watch game all day. It is all one in the same. Turn off the game time and say, where does the time go? 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 Where does the time, tell me, where does the time go?
A room is going to be considered our premium room. When you walk into the control room, this is what you'll see. Treatment all over the walls. And already you can tell this is a much bigger space than our B room, and there is a lot more equipment to be had in here. So let's go ahead and start with top to bottom.